Right, so this is the first Geo Scheduling meeting with a new process that we are starting from today. So we've just hit record on this meeting as well. So the background to this is we're looking at changing at how the Geo team functions day to day instead of running with the milestones to be more of a continuous process. We've put the merge request up, which I'm hoping to get merged now. And if there are no objections today, I'm going to put that forward to Chun this evening to be merged in so that that's set in the handbook. I've also put the meeting agenda in the calendar invite so that people have access to that now. And Fabian, I think the document is shared with you. I think you're in it at the moment.
Yes.
So the only thing I want to just say for people watching, this is a new process. There are probably going to be things that don't work so well. There's always something that is not quite as you expect when starting a new process. So just encouraging people to raise any problems as we find them so that we can get them sorted out and corrected.
I'm very disappointed. I thought we would just, do it and it would just run through for the next 5 to 10 years. So.
Well, I'd like to, that would be nice. And hopefully there's not too many, but yeah. That'd be really
okay, so I think just for us also to reiterate and describe the process on a high level. So we essentially have 3 relevant boards for this meeting, and I can probably actually share my screen, and then we can just quickly describe the flow and actually the state of affairs as is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think starting from the plan board, how you will use it, then what the scheduling board is and how we will use it in this meeting, and then how that flows into the build board. So I think that's a great idea.
Exactly. So as you can see, this is the plan board. There are no open issues here because I still have to push items in here. So the idea behind the plan board is that essentially we're a couple of months ahead in the tickets that are or the issues that are on this board. So they're not actually being actively worked on by the team right now. They are issues that I need to look at with the team to validate the problems. So I think here, better Elasticsearch support for GitLab Geo is a good example, actually, because we have that on the list to do, but I think it's still a little bit amorphous, and there's some discussion in the issue. So I need to actually look at this and describe the problem a little bit better. From there, I move it to solution validation, where I'll also work very closely with an engineer to actually describe, okay, what would we be able to do in order to support Elasticsearch better? How could that look like? And then lastly, the planning breakdown. When we are in a state where we are pretty sure this is a problem we want to fix and there is a solution more or less described, but it's still something that requires breakdown and potentially a little bit more polished. And I also added the needs weight in here. I'm not sure I want to keep that, but the essential idea is that when issues make their way through this, at the end, they are in a state where they belong to an epic. So ideally, they should belong to a larger effort. They have a good description, so people actually know what's in them. They are weighted in terms of effort, and they are more or less ready for development, which basically means they should be able to be picked up. That's not the state at the moment. I think for many of the things that we'll also see in schedule, just because we're just starting this, and I think there's some room for improvement. But that's kind of the planning process. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I'd agree with that. I think this is very much the board that is owned by you, and you'll spend a lot of time working with individual engineers who own various epics or various issues, figuring out what needs to be done and how to move things forward here.
Yes.
And then my role on this board is to just to make sure that I keep myself up to date about what's going through here and the discussions that are happening, and making sure that I'm giving the engineers good support for what they need to help you figure out how to make things work here.
Yes. So in essence, I would, at the moment, this is sort of where I need to triage parts of our backlog, or at least the list of open tickets, and decide which ones I actually want to invest more time on based on customer feedback. And then I'll pull them in this board. And as I said, in an ideal world, we're actually quite a bit ahead of the building process here, which allows for proper investigation. And I think that should prevent, a situation where you just pick up things that are ill-defined very quickly. But that's sort of in the future. Okay, I'll go to the scheduling board. And this is the first time that we are actually looking at this. And so what I've done is I've pulled in issues here that are scheduled for 12.2. So this is me optimistically scheduling things for the 12.2 milestone ahead of the introduction of this process. So I think what Rachel and I need to do today here is actually decide out of those issues that are open and ideally already have a weight. I think there are quite a few that don't, which is, I think, a thing that I would like to discuss with you because we don't know how big they are, to decide essentially which ones are in a state to actually move them into the build phase, which would essentially, for example, for automatic verification of LSF objects, would just be moving them to Geo Active. And those items here on the right, with that specific label, would then actually enter the build board, signifying that they are ready to be picked up by engineers who should at this point have all of the information necessary to tackle that task. And the difference between us doing this once a month is that Rachel and I will meet every Friday and decide this. So I think the advantage will be that ideally we'll have a little bit more like shorter iteration cycles on deciding what's next, right? We can be a little bit more nimble in that regard rather than having to do like a huge planning exercise once a month to plan for the milestone. Whereas here, more or less continuously, we are going to fill the build board for the engineers, so that it is more of a pipeline rather than a stop-start process.
Yeah, that's right. And the plan with going through the issues that are currently in progress first, then informs us as to how much we can be pulling into the active column here, because we don't want to have this huge active column that is actually just so much work that we're never going to get to the end of it. We want this to be like a manageable set of work that's probably only 1 to 2 weeks worth of things that are in here.
Which is actually like, it's really cool. And I mean, it comes from Toyota originally, right? It's the just-in-time production method. So it's
and the goal for me is to make sure that we're always working on the most important things, because there are going to be things that come up that we need to insert into this process somehow, because we find them through customer calls or various different methods. And at least this way we can always be working on the important things and it's easy to get them added in. But I think for, at least in my mind, the long term for me is that this board no longer has the needs weight column. I
agree.
We need to go through this and make sure that those weights are added and move them. They just need to be plain in the open column here. I think
yes. So I think
this is the start of the process for us.
That's true. So like the reason why I did it is to adjust for reality where that is not the case. But we could, because I also have it over here. One thing that I could do is I can actually move them back out of the scheduling for now, because I think we have enough to fill like a week or two already here. And then actually make that a priority for the next week to like get the weight on all of those things.
I think that would actually be better, because as part of the adding the weight, it's also just to confirm that people, that whoever, if these are in epics, to confirm that the owner has provided enough information and that they're comfortable with what needs to be done here. But if they're not part of an epic, just to be completely sure that that's correct and just double check that there's anything that might stop us from building it. I think once the weight's been added, it feels like the engineers are happy and we could schedule it.
Yes, I agree. Oh, this is interesting. I can't have geo scheduling and planning at the same time, which also makes sense. So it's easier for me to just change these labels now. Do you mind if I just quickly do this?
No, yeah, please do it. I was just thinking while you do that, we should actually have one other board that's just planning, scheduling, building, and then we can just quickly drag them between the two. But I suppose we won't really need that on a day-to-day basis. It was just I'm looking at all the different ways we can use these scoped labels. It feels like we're creating workflows, but it's a nice it's nice and quick to be able to not have to add one and remove another. That's for sure.
Yeah. This is also good because it makes my planning board feel less empty.
Well, when you've done the last one of that, let's quickly bounce over to the building board.
I sometimes get this like very odd looking black triangle rendered here. I've not found out why it sometimes appears. It's very strange. I think I probably could have done this in bulk, but.
For 10 issues, 11 issues, it's fine.
Okay, so this now should actually appear over here in the, yeah, there we go.
Okay, so then the plan is we need to get these ones weighted next.
Correct.
Okay, what happened to all the other things that were in here?
I don't know. I'm confused by this. Oh, I think I know what happened. No, I'm at a loss. I thought the the Elasticsearch may have gotten in here, but 1 second.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Because I didn't really change them. Let me quickly have a look.
If I click on Geo Planning, everything shows up again. Oh, you know why? Because you've used Geo Planning's nothing. There's one that's Geo Planning Breakdown, and then you've got another label that's Geo Planning. Do you see there's so if you go to on your needs weight column there, click on one of the gray labels that says Geo Planning. Just click on it. Okay. And you see now in the column where your cursor is, you can see Geo Planning Breakdown.
Yeah.
And in the right-hand side, you see Geo Planning. It's two different labels. I think this is a strange edge case of the scope labels.
Yes.
I think you need to change Geo Planning. Oh, that is the Geo Planning Breakdown and Geo Planning. I'm glad.
No, because I should have all of the things in here that have like any milestone and Geo.
I think that there must be something about spaces and the names matching. Okay, well, for the purpose of this meeting, if you click on Geo Planning, we'll see it, and then we can figure out after the meeting how to fix this.
Yeah, this is, but now I have like all of those here. Anyways, we'll figure that out. Yeah. First edge case found.
Oh, because everything shows up in the open state as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll figure this out.
Okay. Yeah. So the plan is we need to go through the needs weight column and add weight to these issues and check that they're actually ready for development.
And now I can actually remove them here because we don't need them in our scheduling board.
Right.
Very good. Which makes this board also very, very simple.
And that's the purpose of this. I mean, this meeting needs to be, this is everything that we have prepared to work on. What are we actually going to do? Mm-hmm. And also, why are we going to do it? But most importantly, just what are the most important things that need to get dragged over to that? So when things are dragged into the active board, they will then show up in the build board. So let's have a look at that for now.
Mm-hmm. So this is the build board at the moment.
So this also reflects what the team is currently working on as we switch the process as well. So everything that is being worked on should be showing up here.
I believe this to be correct, yes.
Okay, so we can see here that ready for development has got 2 items that are ready to be picked up. So let's quickly check that if we move something into active that it shows up where we expect. So if we go back to the scheduled, I'm trying to click on the screen share, that's not helpful.
So if I am just dragging automatic verification of LFS objects over.
Okay, and then we go to the build board.
And I reload this, it should show up here.
The thing is, it didn't have that label. Okay,
No,
there
it
we go.
shows up in open because we haven't moved it into ready for development yet.
So now this is a question, what is the difference here between open and Geo Active there and in the ready for development column? Because by this point it should be ready for development.
Yep, that's a good question. I don't think there's any particular difference really.
So in the past, when the needs weight, when the weight was applied to an issue, we also added the ready for development label when we took the needs weight off. So we could continue to do that, or?
Yeah, I think that's actually, I think this is how we describe that. So in my planning board, let's say, and I'm also like this one here is clearly wrong, so we can actually fix this. So this has the needs weight, but it actually has a weight, so that's mislabeled. So if I remove needs weight here, and I now actually add ready for development and geo scheduling.
Okay, yeah, scheduling. Then we go into the scheduling board.
This should now, like, if I reload, yeah, here we are. So this is in Geo Scheduling, ready for development has a weight. If I move it here, it now should actually appear in this column.
There we go. Okay.
My question is, if I'm, okay, so I'm not seeing this one here anymore because the Geo Active label has been applied, and that automatically removed the Geo Scheduling label, right? So here, this is still the case actually, but as soon as I reload, this should actually be gone.
That's right, yeah.
Right?
So
Let's
refresh.
The intricacies of our boards.
Yeah.
So it is a little, it's quite funny. It's like you're infinitely deleting issues from this board by dragging them to the right. So.
Exactly. So I don't want to get distracted on this one, but that was an 11, which seems like it's very big.
Yeah, let me quickly.
So also, ideally, I should have, before this meeting, looked at that and seen, oh, this is an 11, we should have a discussion about that. And those types of discussions happen before this meeting.
Correct. Okay, so this should be back now. Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So let's just go back to the build board quickly for a last, sorry, the build board. Okay, so then this board continues to work as normal. There's the columns for in development and in review. And the new column is the verification one where we just confirm that everything is behaving as expected and we do the additional piece of the release note if that's required.
Correct.
Okay, then, yeah, that makes sense. So then where this meeting should ordinarily start is by going through this column and seeing how much people are working on, how much space we have, and how much is already ready for development. And then also looking through that ready for development column and checking that the most important things are at the top. And if there's anything that for some reason is not that important anymore, that we move it back into scheduling.
Correct. Okay, should we do this?
Okay, let's start.
All right, so should we quickly go through the InDev bits?
Yeah, I'm just quickly looking all the way from the right, just checking that that Geo Cluster Test was done by Douglas, so that's great. I like to check from the right because those are the things that are closest to being done. And also ordinarily before this meeting, I should have gone through everything so that I can quickly, without having to look everything up, be able to say this is the state of everything. I think trying to get ready for this, for the process change has taken up all the time that I should have spent on reviewing the tickets.
It's a little bit similar for me, but we'll manage. I have essentially the entire next week to like get things in a better state, and so.
And then when we have the meeting next week, we'll be in a position that this actually flows as it should, rather than being an explanation of how the process works.
It's the first meeting. So.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm just
all right, so this is done, which is good. There's happiness on my end about this. Okay, the replicating artifact
explorations. Okay, so there are, I'm opening the merge request for that now. It's in review. This is something that Tone was working on. Okay, there is only one merge request that is outstanding, which actually looks like it was closed. That one was closed out entirely. So all of the merge requests looks to be completed. So what I'm going to do on this one is just ping Tone to ask what the status of this is.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do that quickly. Okay, I've pinged him on the issue, so we'll find out in a few hours what will happen there.
Cool.
Okay, next one, improve the selective sync worker that Valerie was working on. There's still a merge request that's open. And still quite a lot of things on the MR that are not done. So this looks like it's still in development, and okay. Douglas is doing the review.
But I think actually we should also adjust the milestone here, because 12.1 is gone.
Yeah.
So this is not actually going to land in 12.1.
No, it also looks like the last review of this was done a month ago. So I need to find out what the latest of this is. Cool. Okay, I'll ping on there.
Do you mind me adjusting this to 12.2?
Yeah, adjust that, and I'm going to just message Valerie and ask what the status is on this one.
Cool. And the same actually for replicating artifact expiration, because that's also not going to make it into 12.1.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I've pinged Valerie there.
Okay.
Okay, so the next column is the InDev column. So yes. I know that the support for replication for Docker registries has landed being much bigger than we expected. So that's still in progress. And I think there's quite a bit of work still outstanding on those. So those are still in there. Then the object storage one, when I spoke with Gabriel earlier in the week, he said that there were a couple more days left of development before this would be ready to go for the big review. Okay. Again, this has been quite a lot of work, and this one and the Docker issue are two examples where we should have found out that this was bigger than we thought earlier on.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this new process helps us find that, because having two unbelievably huge issues at the same time is quite challenging. I don't think it's ideal, because things can be parallelized and it's going to be quite difficult to review. So.
No, that's true. So let me actually adjust the Docker registry bit to 12.2, and I'll also add the missed deliverable, because that is something that we communicated in the kickoff call. So I think at least for now.
Okay. Well, while you adjust those, investigate Geo Update using Omnibus.
That's me.
So this is the one that you're looking at?
Yes. I should probably apply a weight to this.
Yes, please. Okay, and I'm assuming that you are continuing on the investigation here.
Yes, I actually think I think we are almost done with this, but it is still a little bit of work outstanding when Tone is back.
Okay.
But I'll give it all in all, this is maybe a 3.
Okay. Right, and the next one, the rake task fails on dr@gitlab.com. This is one that I know that Devin and Douglas have been working on together. I know that the infrastructure team has been under pressure to, they've had some challenges on gitlab.com, so I'm not expecting this to progress quickly. But it's something that I'm keeping an eye on, just because we need to get this up and running. But I think that's going to sit on the board for a while while we help them through some things.
Okay.
Okay.
should I give this actually a specific milestone, or is this like a next 3 to 4 releases?
I think it's next 3 to 4 release. I think that's, yeah, I think that's.
I mean, like let's roll it over to 12.2, because otherwise it looks like, I think the meaning of next 3 to 4 is like nobody is really doing work on it, which I think is not.
Okay. The next one is compile a list of created data types, and I know that
Douglas is working on this.
Yeah, Douglas has picked that one up. Okay.
And I think there is a weight missing. I think I've asked Douglas. No. Should I quickly actually write a...
Quickly put that there.
Yeah. I have a feeling,
yeah.
One thing I already like is that this workflow helps us spot like issues with the issues, and it makes it a little bit clearer that some things are not in a state like we want them to be, and that I think is pretty good.
And what's also going to be good is because we're doing the same process every week, for ones that continue to be stuck on the board week after week, we'll notice. It's easier to notice rather than just looking at them every day and saying, oh yes, it's still there. Oh yes, it's still there.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay. The next one is support custom hooks. Douglas is also taking a look at this one.
Yep.
I also know that Douglas has been working closely on customer calls, so there's probably not been much movement on this issue yet.
No.
Okay.
But I asked him to put a weight on it a week ago, and he did.
And he's done.
So
also, because this is an 8, this is one that I think we should have found that out earlier on, because 8 seems like it's a 8 seems like it's quite a lot of work.
I mean, 8 is essentially 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
probably
so
more.
We need a breakdown on this to say what are the steps that need to be done, and this is probably going to be more than one MR. So again, I think it's unusual for us to find this at this point in the process, but because he hasn't actually started on it, should we bounce this all the way back?
If he hasn't started on it, I'm happy to like push it into the plan board.
Okay, I'm going to add a comment on this just to say what we're doing and why.
Okay. I think the only thing we have to be a little bit careful is that because we are not in a state yet where we are way ahead with the planning, right? I think we still need to make some calls on what we are going to work on, even though the affair is suboptimal.
Yeah. So I think in that case, and with this one specifically, if this is something that we want to get done because we're in this weird beginning state,
exactly.
Let's, we can ping, we could ping Douglas and start the conversation today about what needs to be done. I mean, not today because he's on leave, but as to what needs to be done, break it down and stick it straight back onto the board outside of a scheduling meeting.
So actually, I have a meeting that I need to, I approached him yesterday, and we're going to have a meeting on the add unreplicated data types epic next Tuesday. And so as part of that, we could actually break this down a little bit further. So I think that's possible.
Okay. Then last one in dev here is specs that are failing. Okay. This is assigned to both Tone and Ash, but I don't see that it's making much movement. So I will, and Ash has assigned it to himself. So let me find out from both of them if there's any update.
Cool. And there are also 3 merge requests for this already. So I'm not sure if this is maybe just done. I don't know.
Okay. Right, so at the moment we have 3 in the ready for development column. So now this is where we would do the second part of the meeting, which is what's in that column still relevant and in the right order?
So I would argue that this one here, like it doesn't have a weight, but I think this is a small documentation improvement that has no particular like priority, as in it's not something that needs to be done right now, but it can be done, I think. Whereas this one here, let me look at it. I think this is a general improve the upgrade steps. So I'm actually quite inclined to like move this to the planning phase, just because I'm not quite sure like how actionable this is. I think I can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay, then let's do that. So I think also because it's related to simplifying the upgrade process, do we want to document what's there now while we're going to go through the process of simplifying it?
Yes.
Do we want to do this later, perhaps?
Yeah, I think we want to do it as like once we've simplified it, you know, we need to actually like revamp the documentation to reflect that, right? So it will be part of this.
Okay. So next on the ready for development, archive old update steps. Is that in a similar state then?
I don't think so. I think this is the item that essentially says we have all of the like additional like upgrade steps from 9.3 to 10. So I think that is something that we can do right now and just move them to a separate like page and say like for like older instructions, use this. So okay. I don't mind. I think this is a small thing that we could just do.
Okay, then let's leave that on the ready for development.
But I'm going to give it a 1 because that's the smallest that we are.
Yeah.
It will be less, but okay. So
okay, so now we would need to go. There was one more open issue there.
A bug.
Yeah, drops but cannot reset. What is the SLO label?
That's a service level objective.
This must be looking at how fast we fix bugs.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Like it has a weight. And I think this is one of those bugs where I think we haven't really looked into them. The priority is not crazy high, I would say, but you know.
I think also it might, given that this was open 6 months ago, we might have moved along from this. So I think someone just needs to confirm that we can, that this is still actually a problem. So let's leave that on the board.
Sorry. Cool.
Okay. So now
to the scheduling board.
Back to the scheduling board, yeah.
Okay, so
so what are the most important ones that you know of at the moment?
So I would say that the automatic verification items are probably as they are right now, quite important, because if you, I'll open them. If you look at this, I think this is sort of the continuation of verifying all replicated data. And if you look at that epic, there's still like quite a few items that are needing to be worked on, most of which I've actually like assigned to 12.2 because I really want to finish this epic. And I think the biggest items in order to actually get there are the automatic verification. That's also a continuation of the work that we did like previously, where we actually added the ability to verify some of those. So I feel that if we wanted to close this epic here, these items are actually like quite important to get done, sort of as a natural like next step.
Okay, so for that first one, the LFS object, when you've had a discussion with Douglas and we've broken that down into some smaller steps, we can move those we'll move those in.
I think this is not Douglas. This is.
Oh, sorry, this is Gabrielle.
Yes, exactly. So, like I asked him to assign weights to some of the other like issues last week, but I don't think he has gotten around doing this yet. But maybe this year requires a little bit of a breakdown. And I know that Mike has some insight. So this is something that ideally, let's say next week, I can schedule with both Gabriel and potentially Mike just to like break this down.
Yes, please. Yeah, I think this needs to be in smaller, even if it's not smaller issues, at least that there's a breakdown of work that needs to happen here.
I'll just make a quick note. Is that okay?
Yeah. I much prefer doing the notes in the meeting rather than having this huge list of to-do afterwards, because then things might not get done. So I'm all for just doing it in the meeting.
How do you spell hefty?
That's right. Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay. And then I think this looks like a 5, which I think is more manageable. Let's have a look. I think here, because this was actually, I think not touched for quite a while, I think it would be good to like just confirm with Mike that the weight is still appropriate, right? And
yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'll put a comment on this for Gabriel and ask him to confirm that the weight is okay, and just to add a bit of information as to why 5 is fine.
Gabriel, not Douglas.
Why do I keep in my head? I said Gabriel, and out of my mouth came Douglas. Sorry, it's
No problem.
Okay. I have written at Brodoc. Right, please. Okay.
Okay, and I think we also have like something that I just realized is like the automatic verification, I think, has some kind of dependency tree in here. So this automatically verify uploads on secondaries.
Also, he's written a very scary statement there. This may be a lot of work because of refactoring. And in the last couple of issues that we have had a lot of refactoring, it's been bigger than we expect.
Yeah. So
okay.
And I think this one here, this is the next step for I think I'd like to dig into this a little bit more, because this here is a constantly verify uploads on Geo Primary.
See, this to me almost feels like this is an epic. This constantly verify uploads. It just is that's just a gut feel, but it feels like there are going to be a lot of pieces for this.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is maybe something that actually needs to happen first, but I need to kind of know.
Okay, so what is your current plan for talking about that LFS objects one with Gabriel? Are you going to have a meeting with him, or just ask questions on the issue to try and get that?
I think I probably like just ask questions on the issue first and then propose a meeting, because I think it's probably better to document it.
Yeah.
I think there's yeah, okay, because there is also, like, I'm wondering why this one here, constantly verify. This is in 12.2. I think I missed this. I think this should go into scheduling as well, at least to our current definition.
Okay. if you do get to the point of having a discussion about breaking down into, especially for these ones where we're in this transition state, if you do have a meeting, would you please let me know that the meeting's happening so that I can try to join?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So I think actually the discussion is about these three relatively sizable like chunks here.
Yeah, so I think because we need to have more information on those, I think let's leave those aside from this meeting.
That's fine.
We need to go forward and find out more information and make those smaller. So there's warn on git push. Okay, I think that this was similar to one that was done previously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we scheduled this a while ago. Okay. Warn on the push if the secondary is lagging the primary.
I like this idea. I think it's more information, and I do like it because it gives some indication of current lag time. I think this is not necessarily a bad idea at all, actually.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if the lag time is over a certain threshold, if we should prevent it, but in actual fact that could be done as a separate iteration entirely. So yes. I think this is fine to pull across into the active.
Okay.
So do you want to pull it? You've done it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this one here of showing the differences with geo checksum mismatches.
Yeah, so previously we did the work, I think, to actually store the checksum. That was done in 11.10. So this is to show the differences. Now, do we need UX or UI to tell us how to do this? Or do you think we have a good enough, do you think this is a simple enough thing to add to the screen?
I don't know how good like folks here are with UX and UI. It sounds to me like something that is not particularly involved. But we could be quite wrong. So
how about I ping Douglas on this issue and just say, do we need any UX help for this, or are we happy with? Yeah.
I think that's good.
Is this Douglas? This is verify all replicated data. So who's the owner for this is Gabrielle, actually.
Gabrielle. Yeah. There's a lot of work in that epic to be done in terms of like weighting the individual like issues. Do you see this like black square here?
I see it on your screen, but I've never seen it on my screen.
And now it's here, right? It's like, I don't know what it is.
It's sent to try you, Fabian.
I know.
Okay, I've pinged Brodo, I've pinged Gabrielle for that. So I think we need to leave this one where it is until we know, because if we need UX support, we need to get them involved. What I do think is when we're adding things to the screen, we need to have a screenshot of what this is going to look like, even if it's drawn on a piece of paper screenshot.
Yes.
We need to know where on the screen it's going to land up.
Correct.
Okay. So the next one is, can rake check be run automatically when upgrading?
And I think the answer to this is actually yes, but I think this just needs to be like looked at again as part of our upgrade process. It's essentially an additional like step, and this could be covered by another issue, this one here. But we don't know. We have no definite answer from an engineer yet, so I'm inclined to not just close it.
So the outcome for this issue is you want an engineer to confirm if this is possible.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to write that. I'm just going to change the description to say that.
Mm-hmm. Ah, cool. This is great.
I've done it.
So actually, Tone has given another issue a weight. And this is the one that I actually worked out with Tone.
Okay.
Well, we can go through that in a second once we're done through all of the issues. I just pick it up.
Okay. So I'm fine for that one to get pulled over as well. That's someone just needs to look at it. Okay. Non-empty tracking database. I remember this one. Okay. Yeah, this caused an interesting customer challenge when we found this.
Yeah. I personally feel like we should just get on with this.
Yeah, okay, let's just pull that over. That seems fine.
Yeah.
Okay, last one is improve general Geo update steps. Do you want to do this ahead of all the other work?
Probably not, actually.
Okay.
I'll put this into planning. These are also just minor nitpicky comments from me, because I don't like when people tell me all you need to do is do this, and then actually I find myself entering like 15 other steps.
Okay. So then the way that I'd like to, when we do this meeting, the next thing I'd like to then do is go back to the build board and check that everything that's in the ready for development column is in the right order.
Yes, let's quickly do this. I'll just close these issues. Okay.
Sorry, Tone's just asking if it's still on.
Yeah. Okay, so here I am a bit confused. So we pulled 3 things over, is that correct?
That's right.
And we have 3 things in here. Are they the same?
Good question. So I have the 3 things we pulled over were warn and get push.
Yeah.
No, I'm already on the build board. Sorry, yeah, I see. Okay, so you're looking at the scheduling board. I've got the build board open. Warn and get push, I see that. The rake, the drops but cannot recreate. Sorry, can GitLab rake geo check automatically. Yes, I see that one. Prevents the non-empty. Yes, I see those 3.
Okay, so if I refresh this, the Geo Active here should be empty.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And if you go to the build board,
yeah,
they are there, but the thing is some of them are in the open column, which is collapsed on your view.
Why is that?
There we go, because they didn't have the ready for development label. I think that this is going to be, this whole ready for development thing is going to be a bit of a frustration, but let's not fix that today.
No, I think we may actually just get rid of it in here and say like the open issues here are the ones to pick up, but we can do that in whatever way.
Okay. I'm aware that there's only a couple of minutes left, so I think the most important thing to finish here is just to make sure that these are in an order that you're happy with.
I like that this is first. This one is good. I think this one should go up like this. And
okay.
No, actually like this.
Okay.
And I think this is fine. I think this is a good priority order.
Okay. Great. So then the next things that would happen are any of these deliverables?
I mean, this one here is marked as deliverable.
Yeah, do you still want it? And also the archiving old update steps, do you still want that to be deliverable? Because it doesn't feel like it's a massively...
I don't think so. I'm just going to remove these labels because that makes more sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Then the last piece of these meetings needs to be going through a bug list and the technical data items. But I think that we've already gotten to an hour on this meeting. So I think in future meetings, this first part will go much faster because there'll be less of the explaining and the talking and the figuring stuff out. Yep. And the weird stuff with the 2 scope labels that didn't show. And then we can talk about bugs and technical debt in the second piece of the meeting.
I agree with that.
I think all in all, this was a really productive first scheduling meeting. I know we only have 5 things in that column, but this is the whole point of doing this repeatedly every Friday, is that we will continue to fill that column up. Yes. And I also think if we need to have impromptu schedulings, we can do that async as well. but I think that this is a great thing to be doing every week.
I completely agree. I have one last thing that I just want to highlight.
Sure.
Because I believe that in here, yes, so this actually didn't have weight yesterday when I did this. Geo Array task to perform post-omnibus Geo update steps in zero downtime deployments. So this is something I worked on with Tone. So
Hi, Tone.
Hi, Tone. So I'm going to remove the needs weight because that has been added.
Okay.
And I also think that this is something that at this point is ready to be worked on. So I would move this from Geo Planning into Geo Scheduling. Because the last thing that was needed was the weight.
Okay. So I think before moving this into active, I would want to read this. I just want to make sure that I think there's enough stuff that we have already prepared. I just want to read that and make sure that I understand what's in there and that anything else has been thought of. For anything about uploads and about upgrades, I just want to make sure that I've been keeping a closer eye on things. So I'll have a read of that after the call, and then we can always async move this into the different columns.
Exactly, and I think actually like if things land in this one here and they're sort of ready for scheduling, and I like feel like, hey, this is actually, you know, we could move it a little bit faster, then we can always do that.
And just do that in the Geo channel as well, because then everyone else can see what's happening. So.
Okay, and then my task is going to be to actually go through the build, the planning board, and get weights on those issues and facilitate some discussions over the next week so that we can fill like this pipeline here a little bit more while on modification.
And I'll make sure that I've done more work on the technical date items, and we can have a chat as well about how to do the bugs part.
Cool, but we can show Tone sort of as the final thing. This year, your build board will now just be updated every week, and it will never be empty.
It will never be empty, never.
Cool. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you. I will upload this recording and just let everyone know where the recording is. And
That's good.
Thank you. And yeah, this has been a really, really productive chat.
Yes, I like it, and there's lots of work to do for me. So I'll get on with it.
For everyone, really. So
yeah. True. Just in different stages, right? So
yeah. Cool.
We're meeting every week on this hour then.
Yes.
That's the plan, yeah. But what we'll do as well is if there's particular epics that are coming up that need to get scheduled, we'll try and be flexible with the time so that whoever owns the epic can be part of it. Obviously, if we've got something massive that we need to make sure Ash is on the call, we'll need to do it earlier. And if we need someone in the American time, we'll push the meeting later. We'll try and be flexible with it, but we had to just set a particular time to get started, or else we'll never start. So
yeah, no, I agree, and I think it'll be. I think one of the main advantages I can see is that there's a little bit more sort of like, well, checks is maybe too strong, but before we actually move things forward, we'll at least have to have spoken about it a little bit, make sure that we understand it, right? That, you know, like the content of the issue makes sense, right? It's weighted, all of those things. So when they are actually being worked on by you, Tone, or somebody else, you don't have to worry that much about, you know, like, oh, I have this amorphous item, I don't really know what it is. Now I'm supposed to do something, right? I think that's what we want to avoid.
yeah, well, we want to pull all of those strange questions back out into the beginning. And by the time we're actually developing, it's when all of those questions are answered and we know what's happening, like we know how to get this done. And I think also, I mean, as we've seen from both that Docker one and the object storage, sometimes we get these issues at this stage where there's so many open questions and the thing lands up being so much bigger than we expected. And I'm hoping that this process helps us not have those, because it can be quite frustrating when you start coding and it's like, oh, wow, actually, this is huge. This is massive. So, yeah.
That's it.
Anyway, I must get to another call. So thank you very much for this. I'll upload the recording.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye.